Alright, welcome back to Beam Mother Reviews, everybody. We've got the latest release from HMO. This is, of course, Zero from the Mega Man series. And if you don't know HMO, I mean, they've been around for a few years now. They only put out maybe 2 statues a year, so it's a pretty small sample size, but they've been able to do some pretty big things with their releases, including winning Statue of the Year in 2018 with Morgan. And I think most people would say Morgan is, if not their best, then their most successful statue to date. But my personal favorite to date has always been Mega Man X. Now, Zero, as I said, from the Mega Man series, is the follow-up to Mega Man. And can he take the new #1 spot on my HMO Best of list? Well, let's get into the review and find out. Alright, so Zero, as I mentioned, comes from the Mega Man series and actually made his debut back in the very first Mega Man X game. Now, in that game, he was not a playable character, but he still had a pretty big impact on the story. I remember his debut from the game. It was pretty awesome. It was right off the top, actually. As Mega Man, you're thrust right into the action, and you end up fighting this big boss-like character in this big kind of mech-type vehicle. And there's no way you can beat this guy at that point in the game. And then in comes Zero just as you're on your last life bar to save the day. And he looks awesome, right? He's like Mega Man, but he's different. He looks cooler. He's got this new set of armor with these pointy kind of horn type wings on the side. He's got the big shoulder pads. He's got a bigger, badder Buster Cannon on his arm. And then on top of all that, he's got this awesome energy sword, basically a lightsaber called the Z-Saber, that just kind of sets him apart from Mega Man. Now, he was super popular with the fans, and eventually down the road in subsequent games, he becomes a playable character. Now, his typical look is actually a red set of armor, and HMO did make that version as well. But if you had a secret code and you entered it on the character select screen, you could turn his armor black and get the dark armor version of Zero just like you see here. And just like Spider-Man, he looks pretty badass in black. So we're going to review the variant version today. Enough of the intro. Let's talk about sculpt and design. Alright, so this statue is sculpted by Mufazal, who's a co-founder of HMO. And actually most of the HMO statues are sculpted by Mufazal. So let's start off with the design here. Zero is standing atop this upgrade module style base, very similar to what Mega Man has. So it puts him in the same kind of environment, which is very nice. But Zero has a much more standard museum pose than Mega Man had. He was leaping through the air in kind of an action scene. And that's kind of cool because Zero is a improved version of Mega Man. He's bigger, he's badder, he's superior in every way. And you can see those kind of traits in this sculpt. Look at the legs. He's got this really big leg armor. It really tapers out a lot more than Mega Man's did. He looks big, he looks bulky and super heroic almost with these big shoulder pads. It really gives him that heroic almost silhouette. So I think they did a really nice job making him look like this superior version of Mega Man. And even though this character comes from the 16-bit retro gaming era, and there's not maybe as many details, fine details, as you see on some other statues these days, I know this sculpt was not easy for Mufazal to do. It took him a long, long time. There was a lot of revisions to try and get those proportions just right. And I think they really did a nice job on that. There are some hidden details on this statue. Just like Mega Man, you can't pull off the armor plating. So I just grab underneath there and they come apart. They're magnetic. They go together with magnets just like that. And you can see some of the machinery details underneath the armor there in the leg, in the ankle area. You see the hinges. I like the paint. You get a little bit of color on the statue here, the green and the purple. The chest plate does come off as well, but I will point out that the 2 green balls on the front of his chest right here I think were originally supposed to sort of stay on the chest. You can see they come off with the chest plate now. And what that means is you see the two keys where the magnets are, where these two keys fit in and hold it on. And it's not a real great look, so I don't think I would ever display it without the chest plate. It's not a big deal for me because I'm going to display it with all the armor on anyways, but I think that's worth pointing out. But overall, I think they really did capture this, bigger, better vibe with this character as compared to Mega Man. So great job on the sculpt here from HMO. Okay, so before we move on, I want to show you some of the switch out parts that you get with this statue. There's a few different display options to play around with. We'll start with the portrait. Originally, the red and the black version were each going to come with one portrait, and they were actually going to be different. The black version was going to come with this version here, where he's gritting his teeth and kind of a more angry expression on it, and the red version had a kind of more calm, closed mouth expression. Now, the production, I believe, was taking a long time, and kind of as a thank you to the customers for being patient, HMO decided to throw in both portraits with both statues. So you get the closed mouth calm version with the black version you see here, and the red version will also come with the baring his teeth version. Now what's interesting about the portraits is how it connects to the hair, and you can see this is kind of a big heavy piece. So how they've done it is they've put a threaded rod on the end of the hair and cast kind of a nut in the back of the head there. So you just thread the head on to the hair and you spin it on like so until the blue part there is flush with the back of his head. So there. And then you just fit it onto the neck, and you can see there's sort of an electrical connection there, to transfer the power into the light up feature on the head. And it's a little tricky to get on, so just bear with me here. And there we go. So one thing to watch out for as you do install the head is the hair does touch the back of the leg, so make sure you don't scratch the armor with the hair as you're doing that. And the other thing I'll point out is the hair doesn't necessarily have to be tightened all the way. You can see it's a little bit loose on the back of this portrait. So it fits a little bit tighter on the other one. I think it's going to vary on each piece individually. I say that because I didn't know that to start with, and I tightened it up all the way, and the hair was kind of out like this to start with, and I turned around to do something, and I hear this kind of crash as the gravity took over, and the hair kind of went back down to where it's supposed to sit here, kind of straight up and down. So just be careful with that. You want to make sure the hair is straight up and down. Okay, so that's over with. We've got a few different arm options to play around with. You saw the Buster Cannon earlier in the video here for the left arm, but you also get an empty left arm here just down at his side, so we'll show you that version here. And it plugs into the shoulder like so. And then for the right arm, you saw the Zed Saber earlier. Now it does fit a little bit loose in his hand there, and that's just because of how they put it together. I guess the sword was two pieces to fit in his hand, so don't worry about that. It fits nicely in his hand. But you also get this empty fist option, so we'll show you that. And it just fits in with a magnet, nice and steady like this, like so. Now for this version where he's not holding the sword, you do get a sword handle to put in his back like that. And that's just a nice little touch of detail there, attention to detail for a fan, so when you're not displaying the sword, it still looks complete. So lots of switch outs to play around with. Let's move on and talk about paint. Alright, so moving on to paint for this statue, and it's a pretty solid paint job for this guy. You got some nice glossy black on the armor, nice metallic gold trim around here. It's a really nice color combination for this armor set. The gold handle on the sword as well. Now his hair has more of a realistic blonde look as compared to the red version, which has a really bright sort of animated yellow color to it. So a little difference between the two statues there. The white areas have a little bit of wear to them. It's not battle damage, it's just kind of a worn look to it. And then the gray areas of his chest, a little bit of, again, some wear in that area as well. Nice metallic silver on the blaster and on the under armor parts as well. So really nice paint job. The skin looks good. The eyes are painted very well. So it's a really nice, clean paint job all around on this piece. Now I'm going to shut the lights off and show you one thing that's kind of neat, is the way that they painted the areas that light up, and that's the front of the mask, the ears, and the green part on top of the blaster, and then the red part here in front. They've painted them to kind of look like they're lit up, so when the lights are off, those areas actually look pretty good. And you know, for me personally, I rarely turn the lights on my statues, so it's got to look good without the lights, and I think this does. One thing I will point out is the two green orbs on the front of his chest do not light up, and they have this sort of clear, transparent look to them, which I don't think that looks great compared to the painted light up features. So I kind of wish they had painted these as well. But you know, it doesn't look terrible, but you will notice the difference between the two green areas for sure. So other than that, really, really nice paint job on this piece. Alright, so we'll talk some production and build quality for Zero here. And I will start off by saying that this statue weighs a lot more than you might expect. It weighs about 35 pounds, and most of that is in the base. I don't know if it's the electronics in the base that's giving it all that weight, but it's quite heavy. Zero himself also feels nice quality. He's got a weighty feel to him as well. I like that the parts all fit together nicely. The magnets are nice and strong. You saw the threaded rod connection for the hair. It makes changing the heads a little bit of a chore, but it keeps the hair on nice and secure, which is the most important thing. So overall, Zero, you know, really nice quality feeling piece. It's got the light up feature. One thing that's cool about the light up feature is it has a USB power jack at the back. So you can power this thing a few different ways. You can go AAA batteries in the underside, which is what I'm using here now, or you can power it with a USB power bank or a USB AC adapter. You plug it right into the wall as well. Now it doesn't come with these, so you'll have to have those kicking around or maybe pick them up on Amazon or something like that. But you can power it a few different ways, which is nice to have. One minor complaint about the light up feature is the lights in the base. They're just not very strong. You don't see them very well, but there is a pulsing light feature just like Mega Man had on his base. And I don't know if it's because the cover is just really not transparent enough, or the lights just aren't strong enough, but you don't really get a good look at those lights, so I wish they were a little bit stronger. Other than that, this statue is a really nice quality piece, and I think you're going to be happy with it. Alright, you know we couldn't end off the review without showing you the two statues side by side. We've got the original Mega Man X over here. We got the new release Zero over here. And you can see their bases are roughly the same height. So when they're side by side like this, I mean, Zero really presents as this bigger, better, more heroic looking version of Mega Man, and that's exactly what HMO was trying to achieve. So great job on the sculpt and the proportions there. I love the paint on this black dark version of the statue. The black and gold really complement each other well, although I think the red looks pretty slick too, so you can't go wrong with either version. I like that it's a good quality feeling piece. It's big, it's heavy, the parts fit together nicely. You get a nice light up feature, you get lots of switch out parts. It's really an excellent production from HMO. Now I said off the top that Mega Man is my favorite HMO statue to date. So did Zero take over the #1 spot? No, I still favor Mega Man. I think the light up feature is a little more effective than it is on Zero. You can see the lights in the base a little bit better. The peel away armor is a little more effective too, if that's how you choose to display it. And you know, who am I kidding? There's some character bias there. I love the boy in blue Mega Man. I love the games growing up, so take that for what it's worth. Zero, still an excellent statue from HMO. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Stay tuned to the channel because there's always more coming, and I'll talk to you guys soon.